Third time's a charm, I'm sure. Hello. My name is Selma. Welcome to episode 24 of Little Big Knits. This is a podcast primarily about knitting, also including some other yarny related goodness here and there, or different crafts at times. I live here in Ottawa with my family, my husband, my two kids, and our cat Yoda, who's having a field day around me and is going to distract me, I am sure, and perhaps you as well. We'll see if she actually shows up at some point today. But she is finding this weather here in Ottawa a little frustrating at this point. She's not keen on going outside in the winter, and so it's really important that she find objects to play with, and her favorite toy is an earplug. You heard it here, it's an earplug. And she will just go on forever and ever playing with earplugs, so you're going to see her around. I also have three 12-year-old girls in the basement, so I could get distracted by that at some point too, so let's see how this goes today. I might have to stop and start a little bit here and there. Anyway, I think I told you already that you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Selma Knits. If I didn't, there you go. We also have a group on Ravelry called Little Big Knits. Please feel free to come and join in. We have a Garments Galore Cal going on right now. This is a knit along or crochet along that I'm co-hosting with my friend Kate of the Hawthorne Cottage Craft podcast. It's a year-long knit along and it's about garments. So any piece of clothing essentially that sort of covers your torso. So sweaters, vests, dresses, skirts, pants, shorts, you know, cardigans, that kind of thing. Accessories are not accepted. So we have different threads in our groups. We both have chatter threads and we both have general finished object threads. I also have a men's sweater thread, so if you make a sweater for a man, whether it's for yourself or for somebody you know, you can post it in there and be eligible for a prize in the men's sweater thread, as well as in the regular thread. And Kate is hosting a yoked sweater. So a yoked sweater is a construction much like this one, which I'll be talking to you about soon. And so if you have made a sweater or are making a sweater that is yoked, you can include that in that particular thread as well as the general threads. As I said, this is a year-long knit along. Works in progress are welcome, and all skill levels are welcome. So if you're venturing into your first sweater, please join in. If you happen to make 15 sweaters this year, that's great. You can post 15 sweaters. So yeah, it's going really well so far. It's been really fun to see what people are up to. Lots of wonderful sweaters, skirt already as well. And it's just really fun to see. And there's lots of chatter going on, so please join in. People are very encouraging. If you have any questions or frustrations, you're welcome to chime in and get a piece of advice or many pieces of advice from people within the thread. So that's that. So thank you for joining me today. If you are new or returning, please feel welcome here, and I hope you'll enjoy the podcast and hanging out with me. I am drinking some blackberry blizzard tea today, so I hope that you will grab your tea or beverage of choice. Just because you're a knitter doesn't make you necessarily a tea drinker. You might be drinking or eating something or folding laundry, or who knows what you're doing while you're watching this podcast, but I hope you'll enjoy. Thank you for joining me today. This is a cup that my friend Lori, who is Into It Knit and also has a podcast name, Into It Knit, gave me at Rhinebeck, and I really enjoyed it. I use it often. So what have we got today? I have a couple of FOs to share with you. I have some works in progress to share with you. I have to tell you, in January, I bought a lot of yarn. So I'll be sharing that with you, my experiences at Vogue Knitting Live in New York as well. And I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm reading these days, and some other things that have been going on around here as well. I had thought about sharing, you know, some sort of makings of the past or something, but to be honest, I've had a hard time just finding a moment to podcast, and I thought either I podcast and keep it simple, or if I try to make it more complicated and prepare things, that I probably won't be able to do it. So I'm just going to keep this sort of very simple episode today. So let's get started. You may recall the last time when I podcasted that I had received some yarn from Martushka Yarns. In fact, Martha sent me some more of it. She sent me another skein. She's so kind because she was afraid I wouldn't have enough of this. So she had to send me some more. This skein I'm going to be keeping as a giveaway for you guys at some point, either as part of the Garment Galore Cal or some sort of other giveaway, so look out for that. This is a BFL nylon yarn, and boy did I enjoy working with this yarn. So I hadn't even cast this sweater on the last time we spoke, or had I? I don't think I had. Had I? I don't think I had. Anyway, no, because I showed you the yarn, and I wanted to make this sweater, which is the Perfect Crop Top by Canary Knits, and I'll have to put her name on the down bar because I don't know the designer's, I don't remember the designer's actual name. I've been wanting to make this for a while. I had it, I bought the pattern a while ago, and it's just a nice little yoked tee, and the construction seemed to be really nice on the top, and I was really wanting a little top to go with a couple of jackets that I have, as well as my featherweight, which I've talked to you guys about. This is my featherweight cardigan that I spoke to you guys about a couple of episodes ago when I did, or was it last time that I did my cardigan review? And then I have a couple of other jackets too, and I really wanted to make a top, and I wasn't thinking about the featherweight so much. I was thinking about the other two, and I wanted to make a green little top, and I had 2 skeins of some green yarn. So I started knitting with it, and then I realized that it was quite a variegated green, and it was coming out rather camouflage looking, and that was really not what I was looking for. So then I thought about Marta's yarn, and I thought, actually, that would make a really nice little top, and I'm sure with 2 skeins I would have enough. I did have enough. I have probably about 15 grams left of the yarn, so I could have even made, you know, slightly longer sleeves on here if I wanted to. So I immediately just got rid of the green yarn, which I'm going to turn into socks, I think, at some point. My sock mojo is starting to build a little bit, so I'm hoping to make some socks. But I cast this on, and I just couldn't stop working on it, and I did it in about 2 weeks. It's a little top. I'll get up so that you can see it. I've got lots of things in my hands, but so you can just see that it's just a little top like that. You know, the kind of thing that you can wear with a jacket, a cardigan on its own, and it's a very nice construction. It's a very easy yoke construction. I think I'll be making another one. I wouldn't mind making one with longer sleeves, for example, and just using this construction. If you look up the TPCT, she's got very many versions. It's a crop top, so clearly I didn't make mine a crop. I will not be wearing a crop top at this point in my life, but I didn't really care about that. I didn't do any of the shaping that she suggested in the pattern. I really just went straight down. I just wanted a simple t-shirt construction. And as I said, I like this so much that I suspect I'll be making more of them. And I wore it twice this week. I wore it once with my featherweight, which just was great, and then I wore it with a plum cardigan that I posted on Instagram, you may recall. So yeah, as I said, this took about less than 2 skeins, and I could imagine even 1.5, depending on your size and how short or long you want to make it. It was great. The yarn by Marta is just wonderful, and this is just turned into a perfect pink it's kind of a nice neutral pink. There's a bit of a taupiness to it, so it's really easy for me anyway to match it in my wardrobe. Sorry, I think I've got a fluff here of some sort. So I'm really, really happy with this, and I'm looking forward to making one in green that I really want a green sweater. In fact, that's something I'll talk about later, and that's why the title of the podcast is about Earthy Tones, because I'm really wanting greens and browns and beiges and grays. I'm really moving towards sort of natural tones and colors. So anyway, I'll get to that later. So this is one FO, one that I'm really enjoying and have worn already a couple of times. The other FO that I have for you, I had started last time, and it is my sparkling cider hat. This is a hat that I had cast on last time using one strand of also ABFL nylon by Holland Handmade in a one-of-a-kind colorway that's purple, and the other one was the Ghost Lace by Wool & Vine in her Thaw colorway. And this is the sparkling lace hat by Wool & Vine, and I hope you can see it. Can you see it? But it's got beads on it. That was my first time beading. It won't be my last. I really enjoyed it. It's really simple, and I just wear this hat every day. We've had a very cold winter, and the moment I finished this hat, I just started wearing it, and it has actually been reasonably warm considering that it's a lightweight hat in the very cold weather that we've had. We've had a couple of days where there's also quite a bit of wind, and those days I put on a different sort of a little bit more of a fortress type hat, but this has been worn almost every single day, and I love it, and it just turned into a perfect purple in my view anyway. So there seems to be a lot of purple, but we're going to be moving away from that soon. So this is a great hat. I think it's got a lovely slouch to it, and you could make it more slouchy if you like. I followed the pattern as is. I think I did the number of repeats that you needed, and I think I did the decreases pretty much. I think I got a little lost in the decreases somehow. So I don't know if I did it completely right, but overall, that's it. It was great. So thank you. This was a real gift of a hat. Both yarns were gifted to me, as was the pattern. So I should call this the purple gift. So that's it for my finished objects. On to works in progress. The last time I was here, I had started a new crochet blanket, which I was housing in this leftovers muddy mecco bag that I made at I think, when did I make this? In December. And I just really love this bag. It's just really fun, and actually reasonably well made. So I had started a second crochet blanket after finishing Isla's blanket in the fall, and when I podcasted last, I don't think I even had a full first row on it, and now I have started my fifth row. So it's going swimmingly, I would say. It's going really well. I have been keeping up my intention of 1 square a day most of the time. I didn't take the blanket to New York with me, for example, so of course I missed a couple of days there. But overall, and I think there was one day last week that I just didn't have a chance to do it, so I ended up doing 2 squares yesterday. So, but overall, I'm doing about 1 square a day, and I'm just really loving it. This is such a fun project, and I love choosing the colors, and many of the minis, I don't even know where they're from anymore, but that's okay. I'm just really enjoying doing it. So I'm going to continue doing 1 square a day, and Isla's blanket had 110 squares. So if I were to be able to keep up with that, you know, in 110 days I would have finished the main body of the blanket. Of course, then there'll be the trim to do and all the ends to sew in, because I thought, you know, next time I do this, I'll sew the ends in as I go along, and I just don't. And I actually didn't mind sewing in the ends for Isla's blanket. You know, it was something that took me probably a couple of hours in total, you know, several 20-minute sessions where I just did a bunch of ends, and then when I had a little handful of little bits of yarn, I knew, okay, that's enough for today, and I put it aside until the next day. So I think that's probably what I'm going to end up doing again this time. I don't know, I don't want to do it as I'm doing. I'm really into choosing the next color and putting it on, and it's just really fun, actually. So yeah, this is going really, really well. I am using, sorry, the bag fell, a Prim 3mm crochet hook, which I really enjoy working with. And the yarn that I'm using is a Sadness Garn Sisu, which is a very reasonably priced Sadness Garn yarn from Norway, and it's an 80, I think it's a superwash. Actually, they don't call it, do they call it superwash? It must be, yeah, it is a superwash with 20% nylon. So it's a basic sock yarn. Somebody in the group is actually doing some color work with this, and I've asked her to report back on what this was like to do color work with, because it's a nice feeling yarn and I could see myself using it for something else at some point. I bought a lot of it, so I might just be making myself a cream colored sweater at some point. So that is one work in progress. The next work in progress I'll show you just briefly, that is in this Jenna Rose bag, and my other work in progress just fell over there somewhere. And since I showed it to you last time, I've actually accrued a few enamel pins that I'm really enjoying. This one I bought before going to VKL, and these two I got from the Shelly Can booth. This one is I Feel Like Knit, and this one is Fearless. I just really liked those. So in this bag is the Match and Move by Martina Behm, which I showed you last time. And I haven't made a gigantic amount of progress, but I've definitely made some progress, because the last time I think I had just started this section, and so I'm getting close to finishing this next mohair section, and it's just coming along like this. It's a little bit tangled. And as I explained to you last time, the gray mohair is a graphite, I believe, by Shibui Knits, and the other one is one that I dyed myself. So this one ends up being a little bit of an in-between project, and I figure it'll happen when it happens. You know, obviously I got really taken by this sweater. I knit it quite quickly, so the other things kind of took a little bit of a backseat, except for the crochet blanket. But here is the mohair, and here is the other one. And as I told you last time, I'm probably going to have to add a third skein of fingering weight, and I'm thinking about going with purple actually. I have a purple that I think will suit it nicely, but I'll wait and decide when I get there. So this is another one. It's had some love, not a gigantic amount, but some. And then the one that fell on the floor is in this ink bag, which I really love, and it is so light because this is my Myrtle sweater by Kate Davies that I'm knitting in Drops Silk Mohair. I showed this to you last time. I don't know how much I had, maybe this much. This got put aside for a little bit because I got obsessed with this project. But I have picked it up again, and I just finished the back yesterday. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When I got to the part where you have to separate for the front and the back, I tried it on, and I was a little worried that I'm going to look like a big poofy marshmallow. I have been convinced that I'm not going to look like a big poofy marshmallow, so I will continue with this sweater, and I was going to continue with it even if I were to look like a big poofy marshmallow. Sorry, I've lost some stitches here. Because I'm really enjoying making this sweater, and I thought, you know, I probably should wait till the end to make that judgment. But here is the body, and we've gone up the back. So that's actually, so there you go. It's going to be a little bit less drop shoulder on me, but of course it hasn't been blocked yet. And so I'm using 3 colors, sort of a mauvey purple, a pink, and kind of a sand color from the Drops Mohair. I don't think I have any of the bands with me right now. And so far I'm still on the first balls of yarn. So I might have just enough for the front. This is going to be an extremely light sweater because these are each 25 grams. So this is probably going to be about 100 grams in total. in terms of the weight. So there it is upside down, but then you can see how it hangs. So anyway, I hope I'm really wrong about looking like a poofy marshmallow. I don't know why I feel that way, but I have been assured that it doesn't look like that. So I hope I'm wrong, and I'll look forward to wearing this. It will be a little transparent, so you know, it's something that I'll either wear with a shirt underneath, or depending on how it looks, it could be a tank top. So we'll see. But I really enjoy the pattern. It's a Kate Davies pattern. It's well written, and the stitch pattern on it is simple enough that I got it immediately, and I just keep on going. And it does require a tiny bit of attention, just because of the mohair, and there's so much fluff to it that you could sometimes pick up the fluff as opposed to the loop. I think I mentioned that last time, but still, you know, totally enjoyable. My sparkling cider hat and this I knit watching a Netflix show called Babylon Berlin. Actually, it's not a Netflix show, but it's on Netflix. It's actually a German production, and it has been dubbed in English, except for there are some Russians in it, and they speak Russian and that's subtitled. But the German speakers have been dubbed into English, and it was really, really a very compelling and good show. So I really enjoyed it. There is a second season. I do hope that Netflix gets it at some point, because I'll definitely watch it. But I loved the era. It was around 1930, 1930 in Berlin. It is about the uprising of the Nazis. There's all kinds of intrigue and all kinds. It's a little bit dark, a little bit risque, definitely an adult show. But I really, really liked it, and visually too, it was just really beautiful. So anyway, these two things remind me of that show because I was knitting them while watching it. So that's really what I've been working on. I have been trying really hard to figure out what I want to make next, and I just keep hitting roadblocks, so we'll have to see. I think I'm going to be making the Poet by Sari Nordlund that was in, was it the last Line magazine, I think? Although I think that's going to be a bit of a, it's for advanced knitters, which is fine, but sometimes I need simple projects like this not to think about things, and other times I'm ready for more complex projects. So I'm going to get my mind ready for that because I do want to work on it. We will be leaving for Uruguay on the 22nd of February, so in less than 2 weeks. We're going for 3 weeks. This is a trip that we planned last April, and so we're going for 3 weeks, and I've also been thinking about what I will take with me. I don't know that the myrtle will be finished by then, the stripy poofy sweater, so that might be coming with me to Uruguay. The match and move will probably come with me to Uruguay. I don't think I'll take the crochet sweater, or crochet blanket rather, because I just think that's going to take up some space. So I'm just thinking a little bit about the projects I want to take with me for the 3 weeks that I'm there. I'm going to be on vacation. There's going to be time to knit. I will probably bring some little minis to crochet some new squares, but I don't think I'll bring the blanket to add more squares to it. I'll just have a 3-week lag. So let's see. I do hope that I'll be able to podcast from Uruguay. I'm going to take my computer. I'm going to take the little tripod that my phone is on, and hopefully I'll be able to podcast from there. If not, there'll definitely be footage from Uruguay in the next podcast for sure. And I may be going to the Malabrigo, what do they call it? It's not a mill, but dyeing center with somebody. So I'm hoping to get some footage of that if we do go. And but definitely there'll be some footage from Uruguay. We're going to a ranch kind of in the middle of nowhere for 3 or 4 days. And I'm really looking forward to that. We went there 4 years ago when I was last there, and it was such a delight. What a place. It was beautiful. It was in the middle of nowhere. We literally saw no cars in 3 days. Not a single car drove by. We rode horses every day. We swam. It was idyllic. What can I tell you? So we're going back again because the kids absolutely loved it. and so I'll get some footage from there. And anyway, definitely lots to share, and if I'm able to, I will podcast a little bit from Uruguay as well. One little bit of sewing news before I move on to VKL news. I made myself, although I'm realizing that there are threads here, I made myself this rather gigantic tartan bag as a project bag. And as I told you last time, I go to these sewing date nights. I missed one in January. It was the night before we were leaving for New York, and I just decided I had too much going on. I didn't want to go, but I went this week. I finished this bag because I had started it before, and I actually posted it on Instagram, but there was something I didn't like about the zipper, so I had to fix that. Now it's ready. This is actually Scottish wool fabric that I got at a flea market about 3 years ago. It was a fabric flea market that they have here at the Hintonburg Community Center in April. And this table had all this beautiful, beautiful Scottish fabric. At the time, I didn't sew that much, so I didn't buy a lot, but I bought what was essentially this entire piece. It wasn't very big, but big enough to make a rather large project bag. And I got some of the, what's the interior fabric, which is this beautiful floral fabric. So I decided that I would turn it into a project bag, and I suspect my crochet blanket might be going in here. I think that might be what it's going to do for now, until it outgrows this, because it will outgrow this as well. And in here is my next sewing project. And sorry, just before I go on to that, it was great because I hadn't done a zipper in forever, so it was nice to get a little bit of practice of that. And I found this sort of turquoisey zipper, and so yeah. Alejandro, when he saw it, he was like, well, that's kind of very conservative looking, and I thought, I suppose it is in some ways. I think it's beautiful. I think it might have been nice to have like a second fabric under there, but the piece was big enough and I wanted to use it all. I didn't want to have any remnants. And in here is my next project. I won't show you the fabric because I don't have it here, but I will show you the pattern, which is it's a Colette pattern. Ooh, can you see that? It's called the Myrtle. It's a dress made out of jersey fabric. And it's a two-piece dress, so you could make it in two different fabrics. And here it is on a different kind of body shape. And when I saw this pattern and I looked online, I have to say so many of the versions looked good on all kinds of different body shapes, and that's what I look for when I'm looking at patterns. So not that I have a whole lot of experience, let's be clear about that. But I really like the fact that it looked good on a variety of shapes. And so I got some fabric for this. I'm a little bit torn about the fabric that I bought, but I'm gonna go ahead and make it. And if it turns out nicely, then I might make a second one as well, because I feel like this could be just a really nice dress to have. Here it's in a solid fabric. Yes, it is solid, but just a very lightly patterned fabric. The fabric I bought, I feel, is a little overly patterned, but I think it'll still be okay. I'll show that to you when I get to it though. This week at the sewing date night, I really spent the evening cutting out the fabric, actually putting it on what they call Swedish paper and cutting it out, and that took most of the couple of hours that I was there. And I'm going to make a muslin out of this really super cheap fabric that I got at the flea market, just to try out the shape. There's certainly not enough of this for the dress, and it's kind of faded and not the greatest quality, but it'll be perfect for a muslin. So that's really it in sewing news. I'm going to reorganize things here so that I can tell you a little bit about VKL and show you my haul from January, my not so humble haul from January. So a couple of weeks ago was Vogue Knitting Live. And I went to New York with a knitting friend here from Ottawa named Shella, also known as The Batty Knitter, and she has a podcast also called The Batty Knitter. We got ourselves a little Airbnb. Little was the operative word. It was very, very small, but it was a great distance from the actual venue of Times Square, of the hotel in Times Square where VKL is. It was my first time going to Vogue Knitting Live. It was really in many ways incredible. I love the fact that it's on 3 floors and there are lots of places to sit and relax and chat with people, whether it's on chairs or on the floor, because it's a hotel, so everything's carpeted, and it was packed, but I really enjoyed that fact. I also really enjoyed the fact that there were all these fashion shows. I didn't partake in them very much. Next year, if I were to go again, I would definitely want to just grab my knitting, sit at the runway and watch these different shows. The marketplace was crazy. It was mayhem, but it was very good. And the one thing for me, I have to say, however, it was primarily indie dyed yarns, and I think, which was wonderful. There's so many beautiful yarns. There was all kinds of yarns that I've been wanting to see, and some of which I bought. I think it sort of lacked a little bit of balance for me in terms of more natural yarns. There was some, but not a whole lot, but still really worth it. And it was just, there was a great feeling. And there's also there are 2 marketplaces on 2 floors, but there was also a 3rd floor where there was a sitting area, a cafe, but also stalls that were selling art related to wool or fiber in some way. And there was a printmaker there whose work was just stunning. I looked at it over and over again, and I think if I were to go again, I might buy a piece of hers. It was just really beautiful. So I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the fact that because there were places you could sit with people and just chat. So for me, really the best part of the experience was that I actually got a chance to sit down with some people that I've seen many times or walk around. I saw a couple of women, Jan and Willie, who I see at Rhinebeck every year, and we chat on the hill for a couple of minutes, and or in the in the donut line. But and we saw each other and we hung out for a little bit, but not nearly long enough. So next year that's got to change. But I was able to hang out with another woman named Amy. Thank you, Amy, for spending time with me. It was so nice to to be able to sit with people and get to know them a little bit more and really talk, which was one thing I really liked about it. And I would definitely go again. It was definitely worth it. I really enjoyed it. It was fun to go to New York, spent some time with a variety of knitters on the Saturday night, and just chatting and talking, and that was definitely the best part. So for me, if I were able to go again, I think I would spend time with people and time watching the fashion shows, because I think those are really the 2 best parts. There's also an awful lot of yarn. I need yarn like a hole in my head, as you probably realize or know. But anyway, I'll show you what I got. On my list of things that I wanted to get there was green yarn, maybe some DK yarn, and some just neutrals, earth tones, things that I can turn into socks or a shawl. I've been thinking about sock knitting a little bit and thinking if I make socks, I'd like to make some either darker socks or neutral tone socks that are a little bit less attention grabbing. Just that I can easily wear with different types of boots or outfits, and I don't necessarily always want to have attention drawn to my socks. So I wanted some neutral tones. So that was my real goal at VKL. I did not buy any green yarn. I didn't see any green yarn, but I bought some here, and I'll show that to you afterwards. There was one dyer whose work I really wanted to see, and that was Barnyard Knits. And I ended up coming home with 3 of her skeins, but only 2 of them are making their themselves known to me right now. No, there's the 3rd one. So I ended up buying these 3 skeins of Barnyard Knits. I have been following her on Instagram for a long time. Her photography, every time she posts pictures of her yarn, I want it. Her booth was absolutely lovely, and at the end of the podcast I'll put a few scenes of VKL so you can see. And she does a very nice job of earth tones, and these 3 actually just go beautifully together, don't they? This is her keepsake colorway. which is kind of beiges and browns. This one is called Silver Lining. It's a variegated gray. And this one is called Campfire, and it's kind of a darker brown. And I have a feeling that this is going to become socks for me at some point. This one is definitely going into a shawl because, although it's gotten a little bit all mixed up, I first bought this one, which is called Eyes. It's spun right round. And I've been wanting to make the ochre shawl by, oh, you know, I'll put her name down here in the down bar. It's just completely disappeared from my mind. She is, you know, the person whose sweaters everybody's making at the moment. Anyway, I want to make her ochre shawl, and hers is made in sort of earthy tones, and I really like that. So this and this are probably going to be going into that for sure. So I was very happy to come home with some more earthy tones from VKL. I really, really loved. There were so many beautiful yarns, I have to say, and a couple that I wish I had gotten that I didn't get, but that's all right. Discovered some new dyers like Lavender Loon, who I didn't know and who I ended up meeting, and hello if you happen to be watching. There were Ushitita yarns there, whose yarns I only see on Instagram, and they were just stunning, and I sort of regret not buying some of those. Saw, you know, lots of other beautiful companies. Periwinkle Sheep was there, whose yarn I really like a lot. Seven Sisters yarn was there. There were some really nice dyers. So I think that if I do go back and if I do decide to get some yarn, I'll think very much about the dyers whose work I really enjoyed seeing this year. But yeah. And then I was at the Nice and Knit booth, whose booth was absolutely stunning. And unfortunately, I can't show you everything I got there because it's not all here. But I essentially bought a sweater quantity of this, which is also earthy, although it's got a little bit of purple in there. What is this color called? It's called November Rain. And there's a mohair that's on its way because they didn't have enough in the stall, so they're going to send it to me. But I bought a sweater's worth of this because one of the women who was working there and who is of the Nice and Knit company, she was wearing a weekender sweater by Andrea Mowry, and I looked at it and I was like, is that Nice and Knit yarn that you're wearing? And she said, yes. I said, I need that. I need that. So when the mohair comes, and if it comes before Uruguay, before we go to Uruguay, maybe I'll cast this on. But this is going to become the Weekender by Andrea Mowry. The mohair that goes with it is kind of a bit of a gray taupey color, so it'll really tone this down. And it was just stunning, her sweater. So I'm really, really excited about putting these together with some mohair and turning it into the Weekender sweater, which is a great pattern. That's another pattern that I've seen it on so many people, and it just seems to look good on a variety of shapes and sizes, and with a variety of ease as well. So I'm really looking forward to making that. I already bought the pattern and I'm just waiting for the mohair to show up. And so that was it. I bought this sweater quantity for myself and those 4 stray skeins, and everything just in this sort of earthy tone. So it's the Earthy Tones of VKL. So I completely forgot to talk about the other yarn that came into my life in January, so I'm inserting this and hopefully it's not too awkward. So one piece that came to me is by a new dyer in our community. Her name is Arctic Crafts. Her name is Bente, really, but Arctic Crafts, and I believe she's located in Norway, and she has started dyeing yarn. And my friend Sue of the Tangled Skein, she got this fabulously bright colored skein for me that I'm just like, what is this going to become? It's got to become something fun because it is a really fun skein. So thank you so much, Sue, and good luck to you, Bente. Again, her name is Arctic Crafts. If you want to look her up, she's on Instagram, and she has her shop open at this point. I also mentioned to you about a green yarn, and then I didn't show it to you. So I saw this Ancient Arts yarn at my local yarn shop, Wabi Sabi, and I just fell in love with this green. I mean, it's just a beautiful green. And so I ended up getting enough to make a sweater with. I might make a simple yoked sweater like this one as well. Certainly something I've been looking for green yarn for some time, and I'm just glad to finally have found a green that I really liked. So when I came back from VKL and I didn't see anything at VKL that I felt would be good, I decided that's it. I'm buying some of these. I'm actually lying to you because I bought 4 of them. So that's that. And that's not the end of it. Harrisville Tweed Designs was having a sale, and so I just went to see what they had. And when I saw this yarn, this is the Peace Fleece in the Olive Roots colorway. It's their worsted base. When I saw this, it really made me think of Alejandro, and I thought this would look great on him. So I have actually, although too bad for me too, but I would like to make him another sweater. I made him a sweater a couple of years ago. He wears it a lot. He's quite rough on his sweaters, so I think he needs another one. So I'll be turning this into something. I was thinking about the Cobblestone by Jared Flood, but I'm not 100% sure yet. But this will definitely be becoming a sweater for him. It's got such beautiful stuff happening in there. Look at that. Isn't that stunning? All right, back to the regular programming. That's the end of the haul. So that was Oodles of Fun. It was a great thing to do in January. January was a really lovely month in many ways. Lots of things happening. And I did a lot of fun things. There were some parties, there was New York, saw some movies, went to a play. So it was a great month. And we went tobogganing one time. The weather wasn't great, but what can I say? I don't mind winter. It's just that it would be cold, and then it would snow, and then it would rain, and then the snow would just turn into ice, and it wasn't very fun that way. We also had the coldest storm in 100 years. It was minus 20 something, and there was a snowstorm, and which is very rare. Obviously, it hasn't happened in 100 years, because usually when there's a snowstorm, it's closer to 0 Celsius, I mean. Whereas now it was really, really rather cold. Yeah, so January was an interesting month, and now we're into February, and I'm just mentally getting ready to leave. I've also been doing some very interesting reading. Last time I spoke to you about Michelle Obama's book, Becoming, which I had started reading. I'm still well, I'm not reading it, I'm listening to it. I'm still doing that, and I'm still really enjoying that book. I have to say, I really enjoy how she talks about things, how she talks about her life. She talks very plainly and straight about race relations in the States. Hello, Yoda. And about her experience or her family's experience with it, as well as, you know, the political campaign and different aspects of it. And so I've really enjoyed it, and her reading it has been wonderful. January was also a month that a big conversation happened on Instagram. And I'm telling you this because it's relevant to what I'm also reading. And it was a month that a huge conversation started around diversity and inclusion of everybody, but primarily people of color in our knitting community, in our making community. It was a conversation that really sort of exploded on the scene and has taken many shapes and permutations in a variety of ways. It's been a very, very interesting conversation. It's been a very enlightening conversation. I've really, really appreciated the efforts that people have put into having an honest conversation about this. There have been many voices and many perspectives, many approaches to this conversation. And one day I happened to be listening to Amy Beth of The Fat Squirrel Speaks. She was reviewing 2 books, and one of them is called So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijeoma Oluo. I believe she's a Nigerian writer, and she was telling about this book. And the chapters, it's a nonfiction book, and she's really talking about race relations and racism. But I just found the names of the chapters so interesting sounding. And then when she said that it was read by Bani Turpin, I was like, well, that's it. I'm listening to that book right away. Bani Turpin is the woman who read The Hate You Give, which I finished before reading Michelle Obama's book. And I was telling you guys how I absolutely loved her reading of that book. And I looked up other books that she had read. She's got quite a list of books that she has read. And she's also, I believe, an inductee into the Hall of Fame of book readers or something like that. She's really phenomenal. So I decided that's it. I want to listen to this book. I want to learn more. What have I missed out on? I've been having a lot of conversations with people in my life, with my family, with my friends, with my colleagues, with local yarn shops about this topic, because it's clear that there's still some ways to go with regards to diversity inclusion. It's a topic that we've been talking about a lot at work. In my team, we actually did a huge presentation on bias in the fall to other groups. So it's something that that we're talking about, and that is a really important topic if we want to live in a diverse and inclusive world. So I'm enjoying being part of it, listening, learning, talking about it myself. It's allowed me to have conversations with people that I wouldn't have had before, that I've really enjoyed. It's allowed me to support people in ways that perhaps I wouldn't have before, just because I'm more aware. It's allowed me the opportunity to sort of think a little bit about what might I be doing that is, that I don't realize that might be offensive to others. So I've really appreciated the opportunity to do that myself, and I do hope that this conversation will lead us forward and turn our making community into a far better community than it already is. So I have only just started the book, So You Want to Talk About Race. I'm in chapter 2, I think. And it's the kind of book where there's a lot to think about. And so I probably will be going through it quite slowly. And then I hope to do more reading about the topic. It's a topic that's always interested me. And now I feel like, okay, let's be serious about this. So that's about it, I would say, at this point, friends. I seem to be struggling with a little bit of a cough here. I had to have a little break because I had a little coughing fit. I am absolutely amazed that the tweens are still downstairs and I can hear them chatting. I don't know if you can, but they've stayed down there. Yoda has been reasonably well behaved during this podcast, so I think I'm actually going to get a podcast out. That's quite amazing. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed hanging out with me today, friends, and maybe you'll see me next time from Uruguay. If not, it'll be as soon as I get back. And yeah, I hope this day finds you well. Thank you so much for joining me. And do you want to come say hello, Yoda? Maybe we'll just pick her up for a moment. Come. Come say hi. You say hi? Look at the camera. There you go. You okay? No. She's got to be the best kisser on earth, I swear. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, friends, and I hope we'll see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, Yoda. Thank you for coming on the podcast today.